After studying this module, you shall be able to know how are exchange rates determined, identify the factors that influence the demand and supply of currency, understand international arbitrage and interest rate parity, evaluate and analyze the interrelationship between various parity conditions. Exchange rates can be classified as fixed and floating according to the degree by which exchange rates are controlled by the government. Exchange rates are important for government and business organizations to facilitate international trade and payments. Any change in exchange rates in either direction influences the cash flows, and exchange rates are influenced and determined by product prices and interest rates. Exchange rates, whether spot and forward, product prices and interest rates have equilibrium relationships, also known as parity relationships. Also, parity relationships are influenced by arbitrage. Now we can discuss about exchange rate determination. In this context, first of all, let's have a look at exchange rate equilibrium. The exchange rate is the price of one country's currency in terms of another country's currency and is determined by demand and supply forces in the foreign exchange market. So, any change in the exchange rate is the result of a change in the supply of and demand for foreign currency in a country. The point of intersection of demand and supply curves gives the equilibrium exchange rate. Hence, let us discuss about demand for a currency. A country's currency is in demand when foreign buyers buy the goods and services exported by that country, or when they want to buy financial instruments denominated in that currency. For example, the demand for US dollar is derived from demand for US goods and services in other countries. Any increase in the US dollar value will be caused by increase in price of goods and services of the US denominated currency. This results in a reduced demand for US denominated goods and services. The reverse will happen when the foreign currency US dollar value decreases. Suppose the exchange rate of INR against the US dollar is at rupees 62.50. If the exchange rate appreciate to US dollar per Indian rupee at 45, the price of US commodities in terms of INR decreases. As a result, the demand for US commodities increase in India, leading to rise in demand for US dollar. The reverse will happen if the exchange rate decreases. Thus, the demand for a currency in the foreign exchange market increases with the depreciation of that currency. Supply of a currency. Supply of a currency derives from the demand for imported commodities denominated in foreign currency. When the country's imports are priced in a foreign currency, the resident buyers will sell their domestic currency for the foreign currency to pay for imported commodities, which contributes to supply of the currency in the foreign exchange market. For example, the supply of US dollar as against the Indian rupee depends upon the demand for Indian commodities in the United States. If the exchange rate between the US dollar and INR decreases, the cost of Indian commodities will also decrease. As a result, the demand for Indian commodities in the United States increases, leading to increase in the supply of US dollar in India. Thus, supply for a currency in the foreign exchange market increases with the appreciation of that currency. Now coming to the equilibrium part. The equilibrium exchange rate is the exchange rate at which demand for a currency is equivalent to supply of the same currency. We can discuss about factors affecting exchange rates. There are several factors that affect the exchange rates through their effect on foreign currency demand and supply, leading to the new equilibrium exchange rate. The factors that influence exchange rates are: number 1, inflation rates. Inflation is the result of expansion of money supply in excess of real output growth in the country. Inflation influences exchange rates by affecting the competitiveness of the country's commodities in foreign markets. Because of inflation, the country's goods would become costlier and their exports will decline, leading to a decline in supply of foreign currency. Also, exchange rates are affected when the inflation rates are different in different countries. A high rate of inflation in India relative to the rate of inflation in US will increase US exports to India and reduce Indian exports to the US. The second one is economic growth rate. High economic growth rate of a country leads to more economic transactions within the country and across countries. This will cause the equilibrium exchange rate to the new equilibrium rate. The third one is political factor. Political factors do influence the demand for and supply of foreign currency. Political stability in a country may attract a large amount of investment funding in foreign currencies as investors find the country to be less risky and more rewarding, thus increasing the supply of foreign currency. On the other hand, political instability of a country may drive away the investors from the country. Thus, the demand for foreign currency will increase. Then there are some social factors. Social factors like education levels, communal and regional harmony and the demographic characteristics affects the demand for and supply of foreign currency in the country. For example, high literacy and education levels may increase cross-border movements of people and cross-border flow of funds. The fifth factor is that of government controls. Sometimes government puts strict controls and barriers on imports and exports. All such controls influence the demand and supply of currencies in the foreign exchange market. Government or the central bank of the country may also directly intervene in the foreign exchange market and influence the exchange rates. Therefore, exchange rates are highly susceptible to government controls, barriers and the interventions. Now we can discuss about arbitrage, interest rate and the exchange rate. Movement of funds from one country to another is a common phenomena in order to maximize the wealth of the investors. Investors borrow in markets where interest rates are low and then exchange the currency to invest in the markets where interest rates are higher. This situation gives them an opportunity for arbitrage. The term arbitrage refers to the act of buying currency in one market at lower price and selling it in another country at higher price. Thus, difference in these exchange rates in the two markets provides an opportunity to earn profits without risk. Arbitrage or international arbitrage can be of three types. This can be locational arbitrage. Locational arbitrage is the process of buying a currency at the location where it is cheap and immediately selling it at another location where it is priced higher. Locational arbitrage is also known as simple arbitrage. For example, at two forex centers, that is the INR US dollar rates are quoted. This one is in London. It is rupees 62.57 to rupees 62.61, while in Tokyo it is rupees 62.63 to rupees 62.66. The arbitrage possibilities for an arbitrator who has rupees 100 million may be found by these modus operandi. Number 1, he will purchase US dollar from London Forex market at the rate of rupees 62.61, as it is the cheaper as compared to Tokyo Forex market at rupees 62.63. He will obtain 15,97,188.95 US dollar or rupees 100 million on conversion. He will sell US 15,97,188.95 dollar at the rate of rupees 62.63 per US dollar and will obtain 10 crores 39,999.90. As a result of arbitrage, he will earn a profit of rupees 39,909.90 without any risk. Locational arbitrage is normally conducted by banks or other foreign exchange dealers who can continuously monitor the codes provided by the banks. Locational arbitrage applies not only to banks on the same street or within the same city, but to all banks across the world. Then there is triangular arbitrage. Triangular arbitrage is also known as 3-point arbitrage, as there are 3 currencies involving 3 markets. For example, there can be these 3 codes in 3 exchange markets. $1 is equal to rupees 63.51 in Mumbai, 1 pound is equal to rupees 99.68 in London, and 1 pound is equal to $1.62 in New York. Assuming that there are no transaction cost and the arbitrator has 10 lakh US dollars. Arbitrage gains are possible since the cross rate between US dollar and British pound by using the rates at London and at Mumbai is different. It would be rupees 99.68 divided by rupees 63.51 equal to 1.5965 US dollar per pound from that of the New York, which was 1.62 US dollar. The arbitrator can adopt these steps to realize arbitrage gains. The arbitrator will buy Indian rupee with 1 million US dollar. The total proceeds he obtains is rupees 63.51 multiplied by 1 million US dollar, which will be equal to 6 crores 35 lakh and 10,000 rupees. He converts Indian rupees in British pound at the London Forex market. He receives 6,37,138.844 British pounds. He then converts these British pounds of 6,37,138.844 at the New York Forex market, and he then obtains 1,32,164.93 US dollar. Thus, he has a net gain of 32,164.93 US dollar. Now, the third type is covered interest arbitrage. Borrowing in one currency and lending in another, or investing in securities denominated in another currency with the currency risk covered or hedged in the forward market is known as covered interest arbitrage. For example, assume that an investor borrowed 10 million US dollar in the United States for 1 year at an interest rate of 6% per annum. He converted these 10 million US dollar into British pound at an exchange rate of British pound per US dollar equal to 1.75 and received 5.72 million Britain pounds. He then invested this British pounds, which are equivalent to 5.72 million, in the GBP denominated bank deposit for 1 year at an interest rate of 8%. Simultaneously, he entered in the forward account to sell the maturity value of the bank deposit, that is GBP 5.72 plus 8% of 5.72 is equal to GBP 6.18 in exchange for the US dollar amount at the forward rate of GBP per US dollar at 1.80. After 1 year, the investor received US dollar equivalent to 11.124, repaid the loan amount with interest. Thus, he finally made a profit of 0.524 million US dollar. It is to be noted that the investor has converted the US dollar amount into this British pound at the spot exchange rate and invested that amount in the GBP denominated deposit. Simultaneously, he has sold the GBP forward at the 1 year forward exchange rate. All these operations take place at the time of investment. So, any change in the exchange rate during the investment period does not affect the investors. The type of portfolio is known as an arbitrage portfolio, which is completely self-financed. 2 points should be noted in this example. First, the investor did not commit his own funds anytime. Second, the net cash flow on the date of maturity is known with certainty. Now, there is interest rate parity. Interest rate parity describes the relationship between forward rates and interest rates. Once market forces cause interest rates and exchange rates to adjust such that covered interest arbitrage is no longer feasible, there is an equilibrium state referred to as interest rate parity or IRP. In equilibrium, the forward rate differs from the spot rate by a sufficient amount to offset the interest rate differential between two currencies. The basic principle is that there is an interconnection between the interest rates and the exchange rates. The IRP theory states that premium or discount of one currency in relation to the other should reflect the interest rate differentials between the two currencies. In other words, the interest rate parity theory states that the difference in the interest rates, which are risk free, on the two currencies should be equal to the difference between forward exchange rate and the spot exchange rate if there are to be no arbitrage opportunities. IRP can be summarized by saying that where the interest rate differ from one country to the other, the spot and forward rates will not be same. The spread between the spot rate and the forward rate is influenced by the interest rate differential between the two currencies. Thus, the interest rate parity can be represented by these equations. These are 1 plus KH divided by 1 plus KF is equal to FT divided by SO. The same can be written as KH minus KF is equal to FT minus SO divided by SO. This means that interest rate differential is approximately equal to the forward rate differential. Such a relationship is called an uncovered interest parity relationship. If the interest rate in India is 8% per annum and 6% per annum in Singapore, the uncovered interest parity relationship would imply that Singapore dollar is expected to appreciate against the Indian national rupee by about 2%. Now we can discuss about an example. The interest rate in India and the United States are 8% per annum and 6% per annum respectively. The current spot rate is US dollar per Indian national rupee is equal to 62.4354. If the interest rate parity holds, what is the 3-month forward rate? The solution to this question is the 3-month forward rate will be F90 is equal to 62.4354 multiplied by 1 plus 0.08 divided by 4. divided by 1 plus 0.06 divided by 4, which will be equal to 64.6394. The US dollar has a 3-month forward rate of Indian National Rupee equivalent to 64.6394. This forward rate can also be taken as the expected spot rate in 3 months. Now look at the second example. The spot rate of Indian Rupee against the British pound is 100. The interest rate in the United Kingdom is 8% and in India it is 6%. What is the forward rate premium or discount of the Indian Rupee with respect to the British pound if interest rate parity exists? And what is the forward rate of the British pound in terms of Indian Rupee after 1 year? The forward premium or discount of the British pound with respect to Indian National Rupee will be a premium which will be equal to 1 plus KH divided by 1 plus KF minus 1, that is it will be equal to 1 plus 0.06 divided by 1 plus 0.08 minus 1, which will be equal to minus 0.0185. Thus, the British pound is at forward discount of 1.85% with respect to Indian National Rupee. The 1 month forward rate of British pound is FT is equal to SO 1 plus P, that is F1 is equal to 100 multiplied by 1 minus 0.0185, which will be equal to 98.15. Now coming to the third example, some of the interest rates and spot rates of exchange are given here. The spot rate is equal to 62.45 divided by 50 and interest rates in India are 10% to 10.25% per annum. Interest rate in the US are 7% to 7.25% per annum. If interest parity holds, what are the forward quotes? F bit, which is less than equal to 62.50 multiplied by 1 plus 0.1025 divided by 1 plus 0.07, that is it is less than equal to 65.40, and F asked that would be greater than equal to 62.45, that is 1 plus 0.10 divided by 1 plus 0.0725, that is it will be greater than equal to 64.05. The limits for the forward quotes will be 64.05 to 65.40. The interest rate parity takes two different forms: the uncovered interest rate parity, which refers to the parity condition in which exposure to foreign exchange risk is inhibited, whereas covered interest rate parity refers to the condition if forward contract has been used to cover exchange rate risk. Each form of the parity condition shows a unique relationship with implications for the forecasting of future exchange rate and the future spot exchange rate. Now let us summarize this module. To sum up, we can say that exchange rates can be classified as fixed and floating according to the degree by which exchange rates are controlled by the government. Exchange rates are important for government and business organizations to facilitate international trade and payments. Exchange rates are influenced and determined by product prices and interest rates. Exchange rates, that is spot and forward, product prices and the interest prices have some equilibrium relationships, also known as parity relationships. Also, these parity relationships are influenced by arbitrage. The exchange rate is the price of one country's currency in terms of another country's currency and is determined by demand and supply forces in the foreign exchange market. A country's currency is in demand when foreigners buy the goods and services exported by that country, or when they want to buy financial commodities denominated in that currency. Demand for a currency in the foreign exchange market increases with depreciation of that currency. Supply of a currency derives from the demand for imported commodities denominated in foreign currency. Supply of a currency in a foreign exchange market increases with appreciation of that currency. The graphical representation of the demand schedule and the supply schedule are called the demand curve and the supply curve respectively. The point of intersection of the demand and supply curves gives the equilibrium exchange rate of a currency vis-a-vis another currency. The quantity of the currency supplied equals the quantity demanded at the equilibrium exchange rate. The factors other than exchange rate that influence the currency supply and demand are inflation, economic growth rate, interest rates, political factors, social factors, etc. The equilibrium exchange rate changes whenever the position of the demand and supply curve change the influence of these factors. The term arbitrage refers to an act of buying currency in one market at the lower price and selling it at another at higher price. Difference in these exchange rates in two markets provide an opportunity to earn profits without risk. Arbitrage or international arbitrage can be of three types. These can be locational arbitrage, triangular arbitrage and the covered interest arbitrage. Locational arbitrage is the process of buying a currency at the location where it is cheap and immediately selling it at another location where it is priced higher. Locational arbitrage is also known as simple arbitrage. Triangular arbitrage is also known as 3-point arbitrage, as there are three currencies involving three markets. Borrowing in one currency and lending in another, or investing in securities dominated in other currency with the currency risk covered or hedged in the forward market is known as covered interest arbitrage. Once market forces cause interest rates and exchange rates to adjust such that covered interest arbitrage is no longer feasible, there is an equilibrium state referred to as interest rate parity. Interest rate parity takes two different forms. Uncovered interest rate parity refers to the parity conditions in which exposure to foreign exchange risk is inhibited, whereas covered interest rate parity refers to the condition a forward contract has been used to cover exchange rate risk. Each form of the parity condition shows a unique relationship with implications for the forecasting of future exchange rate and the future spot exchange rate.